Hey guys, Joel Wolf King here today, bringing you another episode of my What If game series. For anyone new to my channel, welcome. And in this series, I envision the video game your favorite characters from pop culture deserve. If that piqued your interest? Want to see more? Then click on the red subscribe button and also hit the little bell icon so that way you'll be notified whenever I release a new video. New Year guys, 2020 is behind us and that had been one hell of a year. But I don't want to dwell on the past any longer. 2020 is behind us and now let's move forward onto the future. I mean, we're already 3 months into 2021. It's crazy. This year has definitely started on a high note for Marvel fans with the release of Wandavision, the MCU's first show on Disney+. The series has proven a massive hit with viewers. So, in honor of Wandavision's success, I thought I might dedicate this episode to the Scarlet Witch herself. Because if Wanda can get her own show, and let's be upfront here, it's all Wanda, then why not get her own video game? Quick warning guys, since I will be discussing WandaVision in this video, I will be issuing a major spoiler warning for anyone who has not seen the show yet. So for anyone who has not seen the show yet, either click away from this video or keep watching. But please keep watching though. But you have been warned though. Alright, I won't drag this on any further. Let's move on to... Now in this part, I take inspiration from various other games to craft a gameplay style that would honor the character and serve you, the player. Now you may be wondering what sort of gameplay style would best suit Wanda. Well, I have been pondering on that same question myself for quite a while. Now I will be honest here guys, I didn't have any plans for a Scarlet Witch video because usually if I can't think of a gameplay style, then I don't pursue the idea any further and I eventually scrap it. That is until I stumbled upon this comment on one of my other videos. I love to have either Renedy Entertainment, creators of Quantum Break and Control, or Arcane Studios, creators of Dishonored and Prey, make either a Doctor Strange or Ghost Rider or Daredevil game. Control? Control? Oh, once I laid my eyes on Control's gameplay, I knew a Scarlet Witch game could work, largely because of the similarities between Wanda and Control's main character, Jesse Faden. Let's get the obvious one out of the way, their telekinetic powers. Telekinesis will play an important role in combat and exploration. These two ladies can lift objects or people into the air and hurl them as makeshift projectiles. I can definitely see players will have a lot of fun carrying around enemies in the air like ragdolls and hurling them around. But you know what's also fun? Lifting yourself up in the air, hovering around the air, and laying waste to enemies from above. Jesse and Wanda have both shown they can use their powers to strengthen their physical abilities. While Wanda's strengths definitely don't lie in her combat prowess, she can still take care of herself relatively well. I mean, in the comics, she was trained by Hawkeye in hand-to-hand combat. Oh, that explains their bond in the MCU films. Melee won't be a major factor, really its purpose is to push enemies back while inflicting damage too. Wanda's specialties lie in long-range combat. That's why I feel Wanda's game could be played like a third-person shooter with an RPG leveling system. Yes, I thought it's an odd design choice at first, until I saw how well Control executed this approach. Balancing firearms with telekinetic powers, the buttery smooth motion of levitation, and the ammunition variety of the shape-shifting service weapon. Just to be clear, while I will admit that Control will have the most influence in shaping Wanda's game, I don't intend on Wanda's game being like a complete clone / rip-off of Control. Rather, it will only serve as the core ingredient alongside other games that will make up Wanda's gameplay. Like I said before, I take inspiration from various other games to craft a gameplay style, and to be fair, telekinesis isn't Wanda's only power, and oh boy, thank God she has so many powers, because brainstorming for her gameplay was a lot of fun. Since Wanda has so many powers, I'll be splitting up the gameplay section for each power. Seriously, during my research, I found out about powers that I had no idea that she had. Don't worry, I'll do my best to make each section brief. No guarantees though. Alright, let's start off with... yes. The Hex Bolts will be Wanda's signature range attacks in lieu of firearms. That's why I feel the game can work as a third-person shooter in the style of Control, the infamous games, and, forgive me for mentioning this, those god-awful Deathly Hallows games. Ew! Oh lordy, those games were bad even by movie game standards, and the bar is really low, like as in below sea level low. Despite those games being utter disclaimer discussing video ahead. I thought the idea of treating magic similar to a third-person shooter was genius. It reminded me the third-person shooter style isn't just limited to characters who use firearms. Granted, the execution was still... Sucker Punch executed the shooting mechanics much better in their infamous games. More specifically, Infamous 1 and 2, the shooting mechanics are almost identical to what you see from conventional third-person shooters. You can hold the left trigger or L2 to bring up the reticle and transition to an over-the-shoulder perspective, allowing for more precision aiming, or just run around like a maniac and blind fire. Sucker Punch kept fights thrilling by giving players access to different bolt varieties, which are basically the game's firearm substitutes. You've got your standard single-shot bolts, that are the game's pistols, powerful charge bolts for the bazookas, and the continuous streams that are your flamethrowers. Wanda's shooting style will be a mixture of all three games and those god-awful Deathly Hallows games. She can fire the four-mentioned bolts for offense and generate a force field for defense. If players want to get creative, they can use telekinesis to turn solid objects into improvised shields, then launch whatever's left back at enemies. Like with Black Panther's suit in the MCU films, the energy shield will absorb the attacks over time, and then players can dispel the energy back as a powerful force. Wanda can't unleash an endless barrage of Hex Bolts, as they use up Chaos Energy, the lifeblood of her powers. Can't make the game too easy. Her Chaos Energy will slowly recharge over time. If players urgently need more, they can absorb energy around the area or from enemies. Brutal, yes. Okay, that pretty much wraps up Hex Bolts. Onwards to... If there's another thing that Wanda can do is get inside the minds of people. Imagine if she played mind games with Hannibal Lecter. Mind control is a common power found in various games, and one I can see will aid Wanda well in combat. If she can mess with the Hulk's mind, think of the powerful enemies Wanda can turn into allies under her control. Just like with Shadow Mordor, War, and Bioshock, controlled enemies will fight autonomously, and their eyes will be cloaked in a mist of red energy. Wanda's mind control will have limitations at first. She'll only be able to control a few smaller enemies at a time, or direct her influence to one larger foe. Over time though, as players level up, Wanda can brainwash more smaller enemies, even an entire group for a limited time. Alright, next power. You read that right. I was surprised to learn that Wanda can teleport, and excited because having this ability just opens up greater variety for the gameplay. Wanda will have two types of teleportation. The first is a simple short-range burst. This will serve as Wanda's dodge mechanic, allowing her to swiftly evade enemy attacks. The second is a long-range one requiring more precision aiming. Honestly, this one is more suited for exploration, but it can still prove useful in combat. Like, for example, maybe Wanda could teleport to a faraway enemy and then unleash a devastating melee attack at point-blank range. Next up, here's... We have finally reached Wanda's last and most OP power. Also, have you guys noticed that Wanda and the Reality Stone both share an affinity for the color red? Big coincidence. Especially that our powers are tied to the Mind Stone. Back to the game. Out of all the abilities I've listed in this video, reality warping is the one I'm excited to talk about the most because there are just so many amazing opportunities and possibilities for gameplay. Some I could think of could involve Wanda turning enemies into monsters, or create stationary barriers for cover, like how Elizabeth does it in Bioshock Infinite. Wanda could envelop herself and her enemies in a red field where Wanda has the opportunity to unleash devastating attacks onto her foes. This red field is her own micro-domain, affecting every enemy trapped inside. In here, Wanda can warp reality of the entire area, whereas outside she can only do so on concentrated areas. And furthermore, Wanda has access to abilities exclusive within the field. For example, Wanda can slow down time, age enemies until they're nothing but dust. Again, brutal, or create an army of clones based off other Marvel heroes. The field won't last forever, like with Wanda's other abilities. Conjuring this field uses chaos energy. Once her reserves are nearing depletion and the field is about to disappear, Wanda can unleash an ultimate finisher. Her finishers can include raining down a barrage of Hex Bolts onto her enemies, sending them to another hazardous dimension like hell, or worse, the Fox X-Men universe. And there's just so much more that Wanda can do. Seriously, I'm only scraping the very tip of the iceberg of her reality warping powers here. There are just so many sub-abilities as well, too many to cover in this video. You've got self-power bestowal, beyondness manipulation, answer manipulation, and omniferious. If I went more in depth, my editor would have had a lot more footage to work with. Also, for gameplay and story reasons, Wanda will be depowered considerably and not have access to all of her abilities. Because, let's be honest here, a fully powered Scarlet Witch is just too OP, and the game would be over just like this. Wanda's depowered state will be explained in the this is exhausting. I really need to build up my stamina for the Runaways episode. Wait, what did I just say? Keep in mind, guys, that this is only a premise. I didn't see the point in mapping out an entire narrative because I just felt it takes too long. The premise only serves as a blueprint for what I hope future developers will use. Looking at you, Remedy Entertainment. Here's the premise I thought of. One day, while Wanda is enjoying a peaceful day with Vision and their children at the park, a violent storm appears out of nowhere. When Wanda senses something is amiss, a powerful psionic blast strikes her mind. The tempest rages on, a massive tornado engulfing everyone. To the couple's horror, a towering figure emerges. Wanda and Vision attempt to fight the figure. Their efforts are in vain, as the figure absorbs Wanda's powers, weakening her and leaving her unconscious. She awakens to find the colossal figure is gone, along with her family. Ooh, ominous. Because of Wanda's reality warping powers, I could sense the game will have the same narrative complexity like Bioshock Infinite and Burial at Sea. My big daddy, Bioshock Infinite's and Burial at Sea's storytelling was incredible. It had the right balance of engaging storytelling and complexity without it being too far up its own ass. Hey, maybe Ken Levine can help craft the narrative for Wanda's game. Oh, that would be amazing. He's not working on the next Bioshock, so his schedule must be open. I'm guessing you guys are dying to know the mysterious figure's identity. Fortunately, that will be revealed in... For any new viewers here, this is where I assemble a cast of brilliant actors who I believe can masterfully portray the game's characters. Now, as per tradition, let's start off with the leading lady herself. Like with previous main character castings, Wanda was the most difficult. Eventually, I found the right actress, presenting the brilliant Colleen Clickenbeard. As a creative, Clickenbeard is predominantly known for her extensive work in anime. For any anime fans here, you may know Clickenbeard from her roles as these characters.
It can talk! It's a singing, talking afro skeleton!
Inside this castle, wait 100 monsters. I choose to challenge all of them.
Can you believe her vocal range? it's still hard to believe that these two are voiced by the same person. It just goes to show of her superb acting abilities. While Luffy and Urza are her most famous characters by far, it's really her work as Hana from Wolf Children that convinced me she's a great fit for Wanda. I feel portraying Wanda as a mother in the game would provide that emotional anchor. All she wants is to help her family, a mission Hana is dedicated towards as well. Hana is a single mother doing her best to raise 2 werewolf children. Clickenbeard wonderfully exudes the same warmth and nurture you'd expect from a caring mother.
My 2-year-old just ate the insides of a silica packet? Yes, a few times. No blood. I mean, I didn't see any. Look, I don't even know what silica is. I'm just afraid that it's toxic. Huh? How's her appetite? So you're saying she's gonna be okay?
I will admit, I teared up while watching the film. Clickenbeard sounded wholly convincing in her role, maybe largely because she's a mother herself. Clickenbeard also expressed Wanda's sadness with humanistic authenticity, and I believe she can convey Wanda's sorrow too. Remember that time she watched tragically as her children disappeared and were reabsorbed back into Mephisto? Of course, when the time demands for it, Wanda can go all badass like Abby beating enemies with a hammer. Yeah, you get it, Abby, yeah! Okay, Last of Us Part 2 controversies aside, that was still an epic moment. Clickenbeard is no stranger to playing powerful characters. Erza and Riza Hawkeye are obvious examples, but there's also her most prominent video game role.
Yeah, about that. Not the weirdest thing you're gonna see on Pandora. But seriously, thanks for answering my call. We might not have the numbers, but with a badass like you, we've got a fighting chance. Welcome to the Crimson Raiders.
Also wanted to point out that I discovered she played 2 characters with Scarlet in their name. Maybe it's her destiny to play Wanda. Now that Wanda is covered, it only seems fitting that I move on to her spouse, Vision. You may be wondering why Vision isn't a playable character alongside Wanda, because playing as both would mean the game would be over in seconds. They're already overpowered on their own, and since watching WandaVision, I wanted Wanda, try saying that 5 times, to be the primary focus for the narrative, as there's exciting potential for her character development. Vision will definitely still have an important role in this story, one that will push him to his absolute limits, mentally and physically, just like how finding an actor pushed me to my limits. Relax folks, I have found him. DC Douglas. DC Douglas has this unique gift of being able to instill human emotions into otherwise inhuman characters. You may remember DC Douglas as the Geth Legion, who is still one of my favorite Mass Effect teammates, not just because it's a frickin' Geth, but also for its character development. When first introduced, Legion came across as another generic robot, whose actions were always dictated by logic. Over time though, Legion actually begins expressing emotions from its interactions in its own way, which is parallel to the character arc it undergoes. Mass Effect 3 marks the end of Legion's journey. Depending upon the player's individual playthrough, Legion sacrifices itself to give its race free will. Before it dies, Legion expresses regret over the Geth killing their creators, and delivers one of the most profound questions in video games.
Do you remember the question that caused the creators to attack us, Talizora? Does this unit have a soul?
I haven't been this sad over a robot's death since Terminator 2 or Nier Automata. Speaking of the latter, I can't forget about mentioning Pod 042, the sidekick of main character 2B. I noticed some similarities between Pod 042 and Legion. They're both artificial beings, who at first seem like they're led solely by programming. As their respective games progresses, it turns out they're far more introspective, even to the point they drop some discussions about life.
I wouldn't have thought synthetics would be interested in philosophy.
We are created life. We are a philosophical issue. We are immortal. Our gods disowned us. We must create our own reasons to exist. However, the possibility of a different future also exists. A future is not given to you. It is something you must take for yourself.
DC Douglas impressively managed to convey deep emotions through an otherwise monotone vocal performance. Vision also ponders his own existence, questioning his place in the world. DC Douglas has proven he's more than capable to communicate Vision's existential ponderings, albeit in a voice far less monotone and without the vocal effects. Alright, final cast member. It is the villain, and I'm really excited for whom I got planned. There's no denying that Wanda is powerful, thus I needed a villain who can match Wanda's strength. Someone who can prove to be a true challenge for her, or more accurately, a threat. A being with immense destructive capabilities.
And an actor with a voice to match his menacing presence.
Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you David Sobolov as Onslaught. Who is Onslaught? Well, according to Wikipedia, Onslaught is a psionic being spawned from the consciousness of Professor X and Magneto. That's why he looks like a jacked up Magneto.
Explosion!
During a battle between the X-Men and Magneto's acolytes, the latter seriously wounded Wolverine by tearing off the adamantium from his skeleton. Oh man, I bet we won't be seeing that in the MCU anytime soon. Not on Feige and Disney's watch. In retaliation, Xavier blasted Magneto's brain, leaving him in a catatonic state. That's when the two mutants' minds merged and created Onslaught. Of course, Onslaught's in-game origins won't be entirely comic book accurate, since it needs to fit in the context of the game. And I think giving him a different origin adds more mystery to him. There are two reasons why I chose Onslaught. Firstly, it's been revealed that, massive spoiler ahead, Agatha Harkness is the main villain of Wandavision. So I want to deviate from Wandavision's story as much as possible by not including the same villain. Secondly, compared to Thanos and Doctor Doom, Onslaught is criminally underrated and underutilized. To this date, he's only made 2 video game appearances, and neither voiced by Sobolov. How? With his deep, commanding voice, Sobolov is easily a great choice for villains, such as...
And I delivered. What higher lesson is there than this? Never trust Darkseid.
Get off my planet, monster!
Normally, a threat from you is worth considering. But with both a mother box and a sensory matrix field generator at my command, I rather think you should get off my planet. You thought you were so clever. That you'd outwitted us all. One by one, our brethren fell into your trap.
And a certain telepathic gorilla.
And how will you bring me back home? Unless... you're time travelers. I will not go with you. There is nothing for me where I am from.
When I heard his Darkseid, Grodd, and Asmodon, I knew straight away he would make a fantastic Onslaught. His voice for Onslaught would strike terror in the spirit of anyone, even Wanda. To deviate from WandaVision even further, I want to lean more towards science fiction rather than magic. So that's it for the video. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and thank you even more for your patience. I know, it's been several months since I last posted my video, since I last uploaded. Long story short, I really took those several months in redefining my goals for this channel, for my professional life, and for my personal life. This is a massive announcement. I'll be restructuring my brand because when I made the name Jolly Wolf King back in 2019, I thought it was a great name, and it was a very approachable name as well, but now I feel it just doesn't accurately reflect my brand and my personality as well. So from now on, I'll actually be restructuring into a new brand for myself. Thank you guys so much for sticking by and for watching my videos, and I apologize for the late delays. I've really just took this time to also find a new job as well, and finding out what I exactly want to do in my 5-year priorities in the next 5 years, because I turned 25 back in December and now I need to work towards my long-term goals. Alright guys, hope you're doing well and take care.